Well, hello. I was emceeing a conference today focusing on social enterprise within Ireland, particularly with the view to how 3 organisations in Limerick, in Tipperary and in Mayo are all working together so that they can collaborate, share learnings and also redesign a model of training for themselves so that they can look forwards to delivering more than they've ever done before. And they had a conference today that I was fortunate to MC that I wanted to share some insights with you. First of all, social enterprise in Ireland is responsible for 25 to 33,000 people in employment. That is in over 1,400 social enterprises, and that is responsible for €1.4 billion. So very, very sizable. And of course, those numbers don't let you know the impact and the scale and the depth that it has on society. And that was what this conversation was all around. So first of all, I started off by saying that when it comes to collaborating or thinking differently about how you might use resources, I use what's called the SCAMPER technique. Check it out. It's a really useful way of asking questions so that you would look at the same thing in a different way about whether you could maximize your use of it or whether you could put something with it together, or also whether you could reverse how it's used. And particularly Miro, I'm never quite sure about how it's pronounced, have a template of it as well. So I'm going to put that into the description so that you have access to that too. But then we went on and we heard from a variety of different people. Now, I thought the way they ran it was actually really, really good because they asked each of the speakers from West Limerick Resources, South West Mayo Development and South Tipperary Development to each give 10 examples of social enterprises within the region that they were referring to. And they covered the arts, housing, agriculture, tourism, employment opportunities for family carers, education, all sorts of schemes. And it just shows like what these individual organisations are doing so that they can make a difference in society where maybe other parts of the economy are not serving them. So we started off from there, and then they showed a show reel as well. Now I have to say, by the way, all of this was, the AV and the tech was facilitated by VE Studios in Cork. Absolute A team when it comes to this area. They're always a joy, and the way in which they managed it, and they worked with me directly and they worked with the speakers and the organiser, top class. Then after that, then we had a panel discussion with Lismore Heritage, South Meath Social Economy, Rosslare Community and Sports Centre, and then the White Oaks Acorn Project. Now, each of these individual social enterprises have a different job to do, but it was just interesting to hear how they lever the very natural resources that they have. For example, in the case of Lismore Heritage, they use virtual reality and they use augmented reality technology to take people on a very using futuristic technology, looking back into time. They also have escape rooms, and they also, one of the key things that they have as well is they have a facility for people to dress up in the costume that people would have been wearing in the castle from years gone by. In addition to that as well, they are levering STEM and technology and science education so that they've developed capabilities there to sell into the local schools. And they also have a cafe, and they have really redesigned a whole experience down there so that then they will take people off the beaten track. Now, South Meath Social Economy, I mean, when I heard what this group did, I really thought this should be everywhere. So they are a home and garden maintenance service specifically for the older people and for disabled, to enable more people to stay at home for longer and to live independently. But when I heard what they did, like they help people apply for grants to enable people to do that. They also basically provide services where it just gives people a lifestyle where they get their shopping, or they'll help them get their vaccine, or they'll help them go and get their hair done and so on like that. And they said that really they're more like a befriending service. I was struck as well by the fact that 200,000 people live alone in Ireland. So this is a social enterprise based in one county in Ireland, making a really, really, really big difference. Then we had Rosslare Community and Sports Centre. And what Maria there spoke about is the fact that they serve 2 different markets. They have the incoming tourism market as well as their own local community, and really strive to help all. And then we had Christy Burke from White Oaks Acorn Project. And what he spoke about is how they offer a place in the region that covers nature, that covers again a meeting space and a cafe and so on, but also speaks to the spiritual needs within the community as well, whether that's meditation or reflection or other things like that. Then we had Randy Salzman, who spoke about design thinking, and Couple of things that I've really learned from him now. One is that 70% of CEOs say that innovation must be in strategy. 9 out of 10 CEOs say that customer experience is a prime competitive issue. So he was taking these points and extrapolating them into design thinking for good. So he said what design thinking is a deep understanding of normally unarticulated needs and desires, where you explore deeply, empathise continually, ideate rapidly, prototype simply, test regularly, and iterate continuously. And then he took us through some examples of how this works. But then he gave this really interesting graphic where he said what you need to consider is what is, what if, what wows, and what works. And then he gave a couple of book references after that around design thinking for the greater good. Then we had Anne-Marie McHugh around planning for the future. Now, if you ever needed a brand ambassador for Castle Blaney in County Monaghan, this is your woman. So she spoke about a variety of initiatives that they have run with a view to building pride in the region so that people can see that it's a town to live in, to shop in, and to stay in. So for example, they had a town voucher scheme that 98% of businesses opted into, and that brought in 250,000 into the town based on that initiative alone. She also spoke about age-friendly initiatives and also using the walls, like physical walls within the town, to paint pictures of local celebs and to showcase the talent that was in the area, including musical legends like Big Tom. And then she was also talking about levering things like Instagram so that lots of people could get behind the initiative to promote the town, and then it can plan for the future. In particular as well, she showed us a community audit, which was a survey, a really holistic survey across all different demographics about how they might plan for the future. Then we had Elaine Donoghue, General Manager of BIA Innovator Campus Now. This campus based in Athenry has raised 7 million to date with a view to really answering a need within the environment. Again, it just shows how social enterprise can speak and really bring action into a variety of areas where just others miss out on for various reasons. So she spoke about Galway getting an award, European Award for Food. Spoke about Galway 2020, and she said the question was, what was its legacy going to be? So what they did was they looked for key gaps that emerged from the grassroots. And when you look at the food sector, she said that particularly small companies don't have the funding to make big investments in innovation, or they may not have the capital up front to invest in machinery and products to be able to deliver high quality food outcomes, even though they have the passion and they have the know-how and they have the people and they have the market. They may not have the capital investment. So what about if you brought them all together? And if through the social enterprise as well, they could also bring in expertise of specialists at lower than market prices, because then they could be helped along. And she took us through this fantastic campus where it's going to have co-working spaces, where it's going to have areas so that you can set your yogurt, you can test out how to make ice cream, and you can just really build out a deep sense of expertise and a place for the food industry to lever without that big necessary expense up front, but at the same time where all of the in-house services would be available. Now, she said that they have a quadruple helix, term I hadn't heard before. This is where they want to be able to meet a public need, a private need, a community need, and an education need. And she took us through how they're going to do all of that. When it came to sustainability, she said, yes, they have lots going on in terms of food waste and green initiatives, but particularly it's about rural sustainability from the point of view of jobs and lifestyle and enabling people to be able to attract and retain talent within the area. She said it is there for people who want to invest in their companies, whether it's packaging or whether it's setting a yogurt. She also said that they want to set standards of scale for those companies who really want to take their business to the nth degree. And she said particularly what they do is that they unstick the sticking process when people do get stuck in a food processing business along the way. Then we had the final remarks from Shea Reardon, who is CEO of the West Limerick Resources, who just spoke about all that's going on, often unspoken about, often all of these people who are involved and make a big difference every day to lots of people's lives, where it's not met by the private sector, maybe isn't met by the public sector, and has so many positive outcomes along the way. So thank you very much indeed to Caroline Egan, who asked me to MC today. It was fascinating, and it's certainly an area that is growing and growing and growing, but the momentum underneath it all is incredible. Thank you very much for that opportunity.